Does anyone else think that some game protagonists are just idiots? They do really stupid things and ask really stupid questions, and 9 times out of 10, they are trying to be heroes. That last one time, well, curiosity killed the cat, as the saying goes, and Frank is definitely the embodiment of this saying. He sees a dark vortex of, well, evil, I suppose, and he decides, oh, how cool, let's go see what's going on in here then. And that's his first mistake, because now he's trapped in, well, we don't know where it is, but now he has to find his way out. So, all in all, this is a puzzle game with 96 levels, and it's your job to help Frank find his way out. Of course, that is easier said than done. So also, who are you and why are you helping Frank out in this world? If you're supposed to be a creature of this weird vortex world, why are you helping him? What's going on? Well, we don't really know. But I will say this for this game, the story is not really the strong point. It kind of feels like an arbitrary thing that they just put in to give you a reason to play the game. I think I would have enjoyed this much more if there was no mention of us as an entity in the game itself. But maybe that's just me reading way too much into things again. Not going to lie, I do that a hell of a lot. So there you have it, that's the basic premise of the game. You have 96 levels and you have to make your way through with a timer, your controls, which we will get into later as I have some very big gripes there, and 900 lives to get through the whole thing. Yes, you heard that right, you have lives to try and get through this whole thing. You may be thinking, well, that's a lot of lives, this will be easy, and I laugh at you, hysterically, I might add. You see, your lives aren't just the amount of times you can die in this game. Ho ho no! They are also the currency that you use to buy hints throughout the game, or to buy resets for the levels that you are currently playing. And you will use them in such a way, unless you, cheat and decide to watch a walkthrough guide or something. There is also no shame in this at all. I'm not going to lie and tell you that I didn't do the same thing when I got really stuck, and I did get really stuck at some points. This is one of those games that really could have done with a tutorial that gives you a couple of ideas of some of the things you can do or need to do throughout the whole thing. Some of the puzzles are so ingenious and clever that if you didn't know something is available to you, you won't ever be able to figure them out. I mean, you probably will, but not before getting super frustrated. The controls themselves are incredibly basic. Through most of the game, you just use the arrows on the arrow pad to navigate along, with sometimes clicking with the left mouse button and the spacebar. The only thing is, you have to figure out the last 2 options on your own. Nowhere does it tell you that you can click on things in the game and use them. In fact, in the first couple of levels, this does absolutely nothing and makes you think it's not something that you can do in later levels. Oh, and the spacebar doesn't always work. There is only a specific set of circumstances in which you can use the spacebar, and that is when you are swinging on a rope to try and get around. Then you can't use the up arrows to jump. You can only use the spacebar. It feels very much like you've been thrown in at the deep end, and while you can swim, you aren't sure if you're facing up or down. Either way, it leads to drowning. Also, while you would think these simple controls would make things very accessible, you would be incorrect. The amount of lives I lost while accidentally running off the edge to only have the same thing happen again and again and again is annoying. Even if I hadn't pressed the button, this still happened, which was incredibly frustrating, and coupled with some of the other issues meant I had to walk away from this game quite a few times. Nothing too serious, as I did find myself working it all out in the end. It's not a hugely long game after all, but still. Oh, also there are no warnings in this game for epilepsy or anything like that, and there are some levels in which these puzzles are simple flashing lights or twisting screens, etc., and with no warnings, I think it's pretty important that I bring that up here, simply because even I had a couple of issues with my eyes and getting headaches on those levels, and they only took me about 32 seconds or so to get through. This is fine for someone who doesn't have any issues, but can be very difficult for gamers who do suffer from photosensitive epilepsy. I know that most gaming comes with a minor warning for this as standard anyway, however this was a bit more than normal, and I do think that the developers should possibly put an accessibility option on there. Seriously, if it's bad enough for someone who doesn't have issues to start having headaches and stuff afterwards, I think at least a warning should be placed on this game. Okay, anyway, let's get back to other things. Where were we? Gameplay, yes. As I have mentioned before, there is no guide, no idea of what you can and can't do in this game, which is fine and perfectly okay if you don't mind spending a good 5 to 10 minutes clicking around the screen trying to find out where to go, what to do. It's made all the worse by the fact, as I have said before, sometimes the things that worked in the previous level no longer will or won't work in the next. It's very strange. It leads to you using up lives so that you can get an idea of what's actually going on. Or worse, lives to reset levels and as you only have a split-second chance to do the puzzle right before it all goes wrong. Yes, you do have a hell of a lot of lives to use up, and that's great, but if you're like me and have an oversensitive keyboard and just randomly cost you 3 lives, it can be super frustrating. What do I mean? Okay, there's a level with a falling boulder that you have to jump on and run with so you can get to the other end. There is no way to reset this level other than using a life, and if you are not quick enough after the reset or move too fast after the reset, you kind of just end up falling flat on your face. I know that it's a puzzle game, but sometimes you still have to know the parameters of what you can do within that puzzle. You can lock me in an escape room, but unless you tell me I can't go through the walls, I am going to try it. Well, that kind of thing. Okay, that's really heavy-handed euphemism, but I'm sure you get what I mean. So I'm going to come to the end of this rant, because it seems like I don't like this game. It is a pretty hard game, but I still really enjoyed it. It was pretty fun, and as long as I got a rough idea what was going on, it was pretty cool to complete. There are leaderboards as well, so you can challenge your friends and others if you want, and you can see how you compare to the rest of the world. Do I think it's a masterpiece? No, I don't. Do I think there are some major improvements that could be done to the game? Yes, I do. Does it make it unplayable? No, it doesn't. You just need to be a bit more aware of what's going on before you get into this game. Also, developers need to stop coming up with paper-thin stories behind games. It can just be, this is a fun puzzle game. Go and beat your mates.